Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. Yes, I am the founder and editor-in-chief of the Gaming Gang. So welcome aboard. If this is your first time joining me, normally I share the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then we take a first look at a tabletop game. So tonight, I am actually going to be sharing a first look and page through of Lamentations of the Flame Princess from James Edward Raggi IV. So yes, this has been out for a while. But I have always heard some really good things about this OSR RPG, so we're going to take a peek tonight. It is Monday, July 5th, 2021. This is episode 700. See, I'm zoning out already. Zoinks! This is episode 674. I started to transpose those two together. I don't know why. Anyway, so yes, I am back. A month ago today, I underwent triple bypass surgery. I am still recovering. I still have this tight knot. It just sits right here. Never goes away. Sometimes it's a little less of a pain than other times. But it's like the big deal right now. At least where I had my chest tubes taken out and that's kind of clearing up pretty well. Not so much, not too much pain there. But yeah, this tightness, I'm waiting for it to go away. Please. I know, the recovery takes months. But it has been a month and I'm kind of like, all right, come on already. Let's go. Anyway, so do want to point out, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this live stream, it'll also tell you when I share reviews and first looks. As an example, my recent review of Imperium Classics from Osprey Games. Really enjoyed this. Really liked this. I was kind of surprised. I like most of the Osprey Games stuff, but just at first glance, I kind of thought, this doesn't look like really in depth. And then it turned out, I was like, hey, you know what? This has got quite a bit of meat on the bones to it. And I love the fact that you've got, at least in classics, you've got 8 classic, ancient, historical empires with different asymmetrical aspects to them. Definitely like that as well. So, also want to point out that this is a live stream, so that also means that chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, fire away. I will do my best to respond. So far, John Vogel is with us. He was first out the gate in chat. Viper Dave is with us as well. Viper Dave usually pops in right about the end of the show. So he's ahead of the curve tonight. So Viper Dave says, glad to see me back. Well, thank you. I am glad to be back. It was funny. Last Monday, I did a stream and I was talking about how I'm feeling, what happened as far as the triple bypass. Because I guess there's some misconception that people think that I was having a heart attack and they rushed me in and they rushed me into, surgery and things like that. And that was not the case. I did have a cardiac event, is what they're basically calling it. And I ended up having to spend 6 days in the hospital waiting to have the bypass, which was like, my gosh. So John Bogle is pointing out that there are frames dropping. It is not on my end. Not on my end. And funny enough, John's mentioning that. Do have to throw out here, as I started to talk about the stream I did last week, all of a sudden at the 30-minute mark, it dropped. YouTube dropped it. And it would not allow me to reconnect. So it was kind of funny because I was going to talk about, I was kind of finishing up my story about what had happened and the surgery and how things were going with my recovery. And I was going to talk about the future of the gaming gang as well as this stream and videos and things like that. And all of a sudden, boop, that was it. End of the show. We were talking about BJ and Dirty Dragon, or BJ and the Dirty Dragon, and Giggle Snort Hotel, which were blasts out of the Chicago television past. And I was doing my impersonation of a character, Blob. And all of a sudden, boop, that was it. Now, usually, every once in a while, we'll see a drop. We'll see, a little hiccup. But normally what happens is YouTube will reconnect. And it's normally, it's on my end that something happens where the stream may drop. This time it was all YouTube because there were people still in chat who were saying, well, what's going on? What's happening here? What happened to the stream? And normally chat will pop up and show me a message that chat has been disconnected if we have any sort of internet drop. That was not it. So, New There Furlong, that's someone brand new to chat, says there are worse sign-offs possible. Yes, that's true. I could have killed over. That could have been the end of the show, right? Zoinks. So yeah, so I'm feeling good. I'm doing pretty good. I'm out walking. That's all I can do. That's the only exercise I've been cleared to do is walk. I can't push, pull, can't pick up anything heavier than 5 pounds. And that is going to be the case for a while. I think it's 3 months that I can't pick up stuff. But I am going for a stress test on the 16th so they can figure out what they're going to do with my cardiac rehab. I know. And I did the cardiac rehab when I had the stent put in, and to me, it was a waste of time, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. So kick back, relax. Let's jump on into the news because I've got a good mix tonight, and I'm sure people are tired of me just carrying on about the triple bypass. Like, oh, yes. They cracked you open, Jeff. We got it. Jeez. Coming this fall from Ares Games is Mini Rogue. Here's what I know. Mini Rogue is a game profoundly inspired by roguelikes and role-playing games. Monsters, hazards, treasures, bosses, dungeons, as well as random rooms and encounters are all featured in this new and revised version of Mini Rogue. In this 1 to 2 player game, you play as an adventurer delving into a dungeon, room after room, floor after floor, area after area, level after level, to find the Og's blood, rumored to be a fabled and mysterious ruby gemstone. Each area of the dungeon is laid out as a branching path of rooms. Each time you face 2 rooms, you'll have to choose and explore one. You will resolve each encounter by rolling dice and managing resources to complete your adventure. Ares Games and Nuts Publishing, because this was originally from Nuts Publishing, which I think they're out of France, if I remember correctly. I think this was a print and play at one point. That was actually for quite a while. It was available as a print and play. But Ares Games and Nuts Publishing have put together a quick video to kind of introduce you to Mini Rogue. So let's take a peek.
Are you ready for an extraordinary adventure? Mini Rogue is a 1 to 2 players cooperative roguelike game. Explore the depths of dangerous dungeons in search of the legendary Og's blood. Choose your path. Fight monsters and earn experience. Avoid traps or suffer the consequences. Discover treasures and trade with merchants. Face greater peril as you delve deeper. Against such odds, even the greatest champions may fall. But with wise decisions and skillful execution, you just may conquer the dungeon of Mini Rogue.
Mini Rogue is for 1 or 2 players, ages 12 and up. Plays in around 30 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $24.90, which is usually kind of how the Ares games that are being, I guess we'll say, imported into North America kind of come out MSRP wise. But it'll be $24.90 when it hits stores in September. Yes. This looks like it could be fun. I like roguelike games. I am a fan of it's Darkest Dungeon, which Darkest Dungeon 2 is slated for early access this year. Yes. Sunless Seas, Sunless Skies, dig those as well. Yeah, I kind of like roguelikes. They're pretty fun. Although, ones where you die and you have to completely start from scratch, those kind of bug me. The ones where, like, for an example, like Sunless Seas, if when your ship and crew are destroyed, you get to carry something over. So it's like left in a will, kind of. So the Madman has arrived in chat. Good to see the Madman. Yes, the Motor City Madman. One of our chat moderators is with us tonight. So it's either new there furlong or nut here furlong. So I'm not sure which. Says they meant dropping off mid-sentence is a better. There's worse ways to sign off. So Viper Dave said they popped in early because they don't know if I'll make it to the end of the show. All right, wise ass. Yeah, right there, wise ass. Moving right along. Arriving this month from KOSMOS is the latest in the adventure games lineup. Here's the skinny on the Grand Hotel Abaddon. It's been a long year, and you've been looking forward to a nice, relaxing vacation at the Grand Hotel Abaddon. But what started out as a quiet retreat has become something else entirely. Strange things have been happening all around you. Could ghosts be behind these mysterious incidents, as the other guests and hotel staff seem to believe? Or is there a more rational explanation? The Grand Hotel Abaddon is a cooperative adventure game played over 3 chapters. During the game, the choices you make determine what happens next. Explore the hotel, question guests, investigate rooms, and wander hidden passageways. Each player takes on a different role, cooperating to uncover hidden secrets. Only by working together will you be able to solve the mystery of the Grand Hotel Abaddon. With multiple possible endings, your choices will decide how the story ends. The adventure games are similar to PC games, where players have to explore spaces, combine items, find clues, talk to people, and make the right choices to win the game. Adventure games, the Grand Hotel Abaddon is for 1 to 4 players. You can have more than 4 players. Ages 12 and up plays over 3 90-minute sessions, and it will carry an MSRP of $19.99 when it arrives later on this month. I like the KOSMOS adventure games and Exit the Game series. Adventure games tend to be a little bit longer, in my opinion, as opposed to some of the Exit games. Depends on the size and complexity. But also, they're not necessarily an escape room sort of game. Whereas, obviously enough, Exit the Game releases are kind of escape room games. So pretty cool. So this is the latest in the adventure games lineup, and it's going to arrive a little later on this month. Talking about games that came out this month or who are coming out this month, now in stores from Osprey Games, is the latest supplement for the Oathmark miniatures system. Here's the dope on Bane of Kings. Time is the bane of all kings. Always does it march forward, bringing change and challenges, wars and disasters, invaders and internal rebellion. This supplement for Oathmark Battles of the Lost Age focuses on the passage of time and its effect on a player's kingdom. While wars and battles still determine their ultimate fate, many other events can affect the armies of a kingdom. Plagues and blights can reduce access to soldiers from specific territories. Attempted coups can cost a king some of his best generals. On the other hand, unexpected alliances might give a kingdom access to unusual troops, or the birth of a new heir might bring wondrous presents. Along with the rules for the passing of years, this book also presents the option to train your units to fight in special formations, such as phalanxes, shield walls, and skirmish lines. These will allow players to use their existing armies to try out new strategies and tactics to swing their battle in their favor. This book also includes several new military expeditions, including numerous scenarios, to once again challenge a player's generalship. The softcover Oathmark Bane of Kings, which clocks in at 80 pages, does carry an MSRP of $24. It is available in PDF for $20. I would like to see Oathmark. I would like to check out some of these releases for Oathmark because it is a mass battle system. So you're going to have larger armies. I am a fan of those sorts of games. I'm always kind of curious to see how various different companies pull those mechanics off, because skirmish and mass battle are completely different animals there. And it's another Joseph A. McCullough release, who does a lot of miniatures games for Osprey Games. So I should probably reach out to my contact over at Osprey because they're relatively new and they really like the channel. So I was like, oh, they really like the coverage that that I have given to some of the Osprey releases over the past few years. All right, moving right along, let's talk a little bit about role-playing games, because currently up for crowdfunding for Chaosium Inc. is the Call of Cthulhu Classic box set. Here's the deets. It was a dark and rainy night. On a rainy day very close to Halloween of 1981, the Chaosium debuted its boxed Call of Cthulhu game to an unsuspecting and unprepared world. To help celebrate the 40th anniversary of this iconic horror role-playing game, we are reissuing a remastered version of this box set and several of its first supplements. It's been over 35 years since we last published a 2-inch thick boxed game. We feel the stars are right again. What's in the box? Like all of Chaosium's boxed games, it starts with a what's in the box sheet, which tells you what items are, you guessed it, included in the classic 1-inch box set. There's the Call of Cthulhu rulebook, which tells how your investigators interact with the horrors of the Cthulhu mythos. It is expressly written for people without great experience in role playing. This book explains all of the investigator characteristics, including sanity, the consequences and sand losses required when meeting fearsome creatures, the alien intelligences of the Cthulhu mythos, a magic system, and spells for the mythos, scenarios so you can begin immediately, and appendices with useful additional materials. There's a source book for the 1920s, which provides much of the campaign material that a game master, called in the Cthulhu rules a keeper, what they need for extended role playing in the 1920s. Though the rules are not time specific, this book is. It contains prices, distances, travel times, historical background, plans, a system for generating prior experience, an expanded weapons list, additional monsters, archaeological dig site plans, and more. There's also the world map, which shows major cities, continents, mountains, rivers, actual archaeological sites, and suspected Cthulhuoid locations. Call of Cthulhu investigations can be globe-trotting adventures. Pretty cool that the original map was done in ruby red ink. There's also character sheets to get your investigators started, character silhouettes that can be cut apart and used to show the position of the investigators and the minions and monsters they meet. These figures can make everyone's actions much more understandable. Everyone also wants more adventures to play, more monsters to flee, and more source material to enjoy. Thus, Chaosium has remastered 5 additional early supplements. There's the Shadows of Yog-Sothoth, a global campaign to save mankind, the first of its kind. The Asylum and Other Tales, 7 shorter, sinister scenarios set around the world and at sea. There's the Cthulhu Companion, 4 scenarios as well as added rules and source material. And the Trail of Sashothura. I don't know. I can never pronounce this. It's a mini campaign of 2 scenarios plus a 3rd adventure. It's world spanning and thus all over the place. And finally, there are Fragments of Fear, additional gods, background, and other material, as well as a bonus scenario. Due to the remastered formatting remaining very true to the original look, Chaosium also has room to add additional bonus content by the early authors from various other sources. These supplements also often contain more than the original releases. It's about a 3-minute video. It's hosted by Rick Meintz, who I have interviewed in the past. He's very nice. And he's going to tell you a bit more about the Call of Cthulhu Classic Kickstarter.
Good evening. My name is Rick Meintz, the president of Chaosium. One of the favorite parts of my job is being keeper of our game archives and resurrector of books from Chaosium's golden age of the late 70s and early 80s. You might remember the RuneQuest Classics project, where we successfully kickstarted the reprinting over a dozen long out-of-print RuneQuest books. Tonight, I want to share with you our latest project, Call of Cthulhu Classic. On a cold and rainy day, back in 1981, Chaosium unleashed the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game on an unprepared world. To help celebrate the 40th anniversary of its debut, we want to bring back into print that classic box set. Call of Cthulhu was the last of our big boxed RPGs. It's hard to believe that we haven't done one since 1982. To do this right, we have remastered all the original files from the best copies we have in the archives. We've redone the layout just to freshen it up a bit and also make all the books look a little bit more consistent. Fortunately, we don't have to cut and paste things on paper like we did back in the day. All we've changed are correcting a few original and somewhat embarrassing typos, and we've added bonus material to make this a bit of a director's cut. Things like extra scenarios, and designer's notes, plus a few other sanity-dropping surprises. For those that want the simple and elegant boxed rule set, we're bringing back the 1-inch box that holds them all quite nicely. Now, for those of you that prefer the extra capacity of the bigger 2-inch box, we're bringing that one back as well. And you don't have to choose just one. You can get them both. Now, sending out a big box like that, we'd prefer not to ship it half full of cool air. The 2-inch box is also going to come with a number of other classic early supplements. Along with the rule book and the source book for the 1920s, we're going to be including Fragments of Fear, The Trail of the Seth Augua, The Cthulhu Companion, The Asylum and Other Tales, and last but not least, Shadows of Yog-Sothoth, the original and epic campaign, the first for Call of Cthulhu. Because we want to deliver these box sets in time for the anniversary later this year, we've already got all the books and boxes ready to print. All of them. We have a few stretch goals to delight and entice you, but they will not slow down the delivery of these box sets one bit. When this Kickstarter gets funded, within a week of ending, we're going to be sending out all the PDFs of all the books to the backers. All of them. All the files will be off to the printer shortly after that. No waiting on writers, no waiting on artists, no waiting for any layout to get done. We're going to print it, and then we're going to ship it. We hope you'll join us to celebrate Call of Cthulhu's 40th anniversary. Thank you for listening, and thank you for backing our project.
The Call of Cthulhu Classic Kickstarter is about 1,500% funded. And I think it just kicked off, I think it was 2 days ago. You can reserve a copy of everything, which is going to be that 2-inch box, for a $99 pledge. Or you can score just the PDFs for a $49 pledge through July 24th. Expected delivery for the digital products is actually this August. Obviously enough, they're good to go. They're ready. And the physical box set will actually arrive supposedly in November. Do want to point out, Chaosium has gotten better with their Kickstarters as well. They have been able to fulfill them much quicker than they had in the past. I see that NTF had asked, what were the differences in this as opposed to the most recent edition? So, and yes, the question was answered in the video, but just to once again reiterate, this is all original material. I had all of this stuff when it came out. So I had the 1-inch box. I had Fragments of Fear. I had The Asylum and Other Tales. In fact, funny enough, my best friend Elliot Miller has all of this stuff because I used to move around quite a bit. I actually had him hang on to it. So all of the original Call of Cthulhu stuff, including that 1-inch box, good luck finding that in decent condition, is still over at Elliot's house. So very cool. I'm pretty excited by this. I really am. And that is because if you follow the gaming gang, you already know Call of Cthulhu is the role-playing game that I have run for decades. It is my favorite role-playing game. And the interesting thing is, if you go and back this Kickstarter, you're going to actually see that Call of Cthulhu hasn't really come all that far mechanically over the 7 editions of the game. It's pretty incredible to see how much of the core of Call of Cthulhu was there from the start. Really was. And very, very cool. Plus, you get to see the haunting, which I would say out of the adventures out there for role-playing games, that is one that is probably right up there with the most people have played that adventure. So Forget what they changed the name to. I'm trying to remember. They changed the name of it, and now it's included in the free quick start. But it's not called The Haunting anymore. It's called something else. So definitely check this out. This is very, very cool. And as you can see, people are excited because, as I mentioned, it is past 1,500% funding in just a few days. All right, my final news piece, now available in print and PDF, is Neoclassical Geek Role-Playing Basic, or I should say it's Neoclassical Geek Revival Basic 2nd Edition. I know that's kind of a mouthful. It is from author Zerkov Kowalski. Here's the scoop. Neoclassical Geek Revival is a take on classic role-playing games to the extent that none of the original mechanics survive. This is the basic set of the 2nd edition rules. Neoclassical Geek Revival is a fantasy role-playing game. Many reviewers of it have been really enthusiastic about it over the years. But the core purpose that differentiates it from things like retro clones, beyond the fact that it's not an OGL game, is that it's focused on player-driven shenanigans. It has different mechanics for class, conflict, stealth, magic, and experience, which create a wildly different play experience while maintaining the old-school adventure vibe. This 120-page PDF is available right now at DriveThruRPG. It's for $5. You can also score the soft cover and the PDF also for $5. I don't know if that's a mistake. I don't know what's going on with that, but you can actually get the soft cover for $5, and that includes the PDF, or you can just snag the PDF for $5. I have to say, I have heard really good things about Neoclassical Geek Revival. I always want to call it Neoclassical Greek Revival because, if I remember correctly, I think one of the adventures for it is sort of set in like an ancient Greece sort of fantasy setting. I think that's one of the reasons why I always want to call it Neoclassical Greek instead of Neoclassical Geek. All right, of course, talking about DriveThruRPG, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, are affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale, and all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep the gaming gang around. All right, so that is it for the news tonight. We are going to jump in and be taking a look at Lamentations of the Flame Princess, which I know Nicholas Stanishek, who has joined us in chat, has been looking forward to. Do want to point out, this is not a review. This is just a first look. We're going to page through. We're going to skip some pages because there's some inappropriate art for this video. It's up to you if you feel the artwork is inappropriate for the game. But for this video, some of the artwork in the book is inappropriate, so I'm going to skip past that in just a moment. But a couple of things. First off is I am actually bouncing around, changing the way people can comment in chat. Not radically, but I have been thinking of making it where you have to be a subscriber to the channel to take part in chat. I don't think that's asking a whole lot. I really don't. Some people might be like, I don't like that idea. Plus, the way it'll be set up is you won't be able to just, well, I'm going to subscribe so I can jump in and, comment. You'll have to have been a subscriber for a certain amount of time, probably, like 2-3 days. But yes, I am bouncing that around. So stay tuned. I'll probably decide this week. Also, coming up is my review of Does Love Forgive? for Call of Cthulhu. That's right. This review is on the horizon. I had spent some time over the holiday weekend reading, so I've got some RPG stuff on the horizon. Wednesday's show, we are going to do a unboxing and first look. It is going to be a War Game Wednesday episode because we're going to take a peek at dun 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 the last 100 yards airborne over Europe from my pals over at GMT Games. This just showed up a couple of days ago. So yes, that's on Wednesday's show. All right. Other thing I was going to mention. So I was talking about when I did the show on Monday, last Monday, and it just dropped, it cut off. I was going to talk about what was going to happen with the future of the Gaming Gang and the Dispatch, this channel, and so on and so forth. Really not a lot. But for the near future, the Dispatch will be on Mondays and Wednesdays. You can still tell my voice isn't back where it should be. It is better. It is quite a bit stronger than it had been, but it is still not where it really needs to be. So, and I don't want to do a whole ton of, strain. I don't want to put a whole lot of strain on my voice because I'm getting conflicting information. I've heard from some people that you should rest your voice, and then other people have told me, no, you should really use your voices a lot to help with it. I don't know. Don't know. So Mondays and Wednesdays for the foreseeable future, not for a long time. It could be a month, might be 2 months. I don't know. It'll be Monday and Wednesday, but I may have other videos as well throughout the week. So I'm going to do my best to have at least 4 videos, including the 2 episodes of The Dispatch, each and every week. If you visit thegaminggang.com, and I certainly hope that you do, you already know things are kind of back to normal there. There's news pieces just about every day. Comic book news is up. Every once in a while, we get some movie news. But like I said, things are kind of back to normal with the website. So something else to point out is you really should visit the website, especially if you're into the latest news about tabletop games, because everything doesn't make it onto the show. There's a lot of tabletop gaming news that it's just an article on the website, but there's a lot of cool games that maybe don't get mentioned on the show. And a lot of times it's just simply because of the timing. So a news piece may come out on Friday and I put that up, and we didn't have episodes of the Gaming Gang Dispatch on Fridays. So I put that up, and then by Monday I figured, well, that news is pretty old. So Viper Dave says, what if you come in at the end? Can you comment? Sure, Viper Dave, if you're a subscriber. Nicholas points out that requiring you to be a subscriber's comment makes sense. Yeah, it kind of does. We don't get a lot of goofballs in chat either, but I think you should be a subscriber to be able to take part in chat. It's just my feelings there. All right, so that is it for all of that. Do also want to point out, if you like the Gaming Gang, if you like what I do, if you like this show, do you like the videos on the channel, by all means, please consider buying me a cup of coffee or bottle of Pepsi. What is it? Zero sugar now? It's not Max anymore, I don't think. If you go over to thegaminggang.com, you will see that there's a little banner, little box ad talking about buying me a cup of Joe through paypal.me. Although somebody told me I should check out, what is it, Ko-Fi? I don't know. I would like to be able to do something where it's kind of like a subscription, like Patreon, without ripping off the subscribers, unlike Patreon. And try to do stuff where, like, do some raffles. maybe try to, do giveaways of some of the games that I review, things like that. So the Madman says they'll be hitting that link later tonight. Thank you very much, the Motor City Badman. And no, we are not talking about Ted Nugent. We're talking about the Madman. All right, so without further ado, I am going to take a first look at Lamentations of the Flame Princess. It is written by James Edward Raggi. I think it's Raggi IV, with art provided by Rowena Aiken, Aaron Alfrev, Ernie Chen, Dean Clayton, Vincent Locke, Eric Lofgren, Rick Longmore, Russ Nicholson, Jason Rainville, Cynthia Shepard, and Amos Orion Stearns. This 167-page hardcover is available for an MSRP of $20. You can grab the PDF. It is the 3rd edition over at Drive-Thru RPG for $5. And I do believe there is an art-free edition, which is absolutely free in PDF. So something to keep in mind. So let's swing on over to the other camera. Ta-da! Because here we've got Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Weird fantasy role-playing. Shows that this is 18 and up. This is explicit content. We are not going to take a look at any of the explicit content because I have cheated. Normally when I do a first look and do a page through, I have not seen anything. It would be like the first time I have looked in this book. But knowing that there is some iffy images in here, I already took a peek, so I have a clue where they're at, so we can skip that so I don't get flagged. Have my channel get in trouble. All right, let's take a look at the back. I'm not going to read everything from the back of the book here, but mystery and imagination, adventure and death. Beyond the veil of reality, beyond the influence of manipulating politicians, greedy merchants, iron-handed clergy, and the broken masses that toil for their benefit, echoes of other realms call to those bold enough and desperate enough to escape the oppression of mundane life. Treasure and glory await those courageous enough to wrest it from the darkness. But the danger is great, for lurking in the forgotten shadows are forces far stranger and more perilous than even civilization. The price of freedom might be paid in souls. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so let's jump on in here. So first thing we notice is we get a price list at the front of the book. So we're seeing everything from animals, the vehicles, services, lodging, miscellaneous equipment, melee weapons, missile weapons. I think these materials are also reproduced in the book as well. I don't think this is the only location for all of this. So let's jump on in. Got our table of contents. So I was going to say, I have always heard really good things about Lamentations of the Flame Princess as far as a core rule set. If you like the OSR movement, the old school Renaissance or revival, whatever you want to use. I like to say Renaissance. If you like that movement, then I have heard that this is a really good system to utilize. I do believe that this is kind of a retro clone of Basic Expert D&D. I think, I'm not positive. Remember, this is the first time, outside of looking at some of the images in here, this is the first time I'm diving in here. And I should also point out, I purchased this book. This was not a review copy that was sent to me. I picked this up on Twitter. I had asked what people thought of me doing a review of this, and it was pretty overwhelmingly in the positive for me to take a peek at this. Once again, do want to point out, this is not a review. I have not read this. So let's jump on in here. Something I have heard about is the encumbrance system that a lot of people have stolen to use in their own games. Also, something to point out, I want to say this came out in 2013. So I can't tell you what might have been, fairly, I don't want to say revolutionary, but something that was different with Lamentations of the Flame Princess that was like, which is being utilized by other retro clones. So, like, for an example, the encumbrance system might be picked up on by other game systems that I don't know. So we got the character creation. So it looks like we're rolling our 3d6. And it looks like we're mainly interested in modifiers for this. So we've got charisma, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, strength, and wisdom. It says, is the character suitable? If the total of all your character's ability score modifiers is less than 0, you could throw that character away and start from scratch. So we've got our character classes. So we have the cleric, the fighter, the magic user, the specialist, which I believe is a rogue, the dwarf, elf, and halfling. Once again, there's that basic race as class. So we've got that. So we've got attack bonuses and saving throws. Looks like, taking a peek here, looks like only the fighter will get bonuses outside of a +1 as they level up. So they get bonuses to their attack rolls. I think this has ascending armor class. Like I said, I've heard things about Lamentations of the Flame Princess, but I'm not well versed in this. So I do, of course, want to point out too, I'm up here in the corner, so I'm cutting off a little bit of the page over here. I'm not so concerned about like people pirating this book from this video because this game has been out for quite some time. So the pirates have already done what they needed to do, I'm sure. So we've got alignment, we've got lawful, chaotic, and neutral. Starting possessions, buying equipment, choosing your name. Looks like a pretty quick character creation. So we've got the cleric. Taking a look here, we've got experience, hit points, so it's a D6. Spells, so first level cleric will get a spell. And then we got the saving throws. These saving throws are pretty good. So we've got paralyzed, poison, breath, device, and magic. Poison's in 11 at level 1. That's pretty sweet. Oh, so basically this is just a little section tells us about the character classes. So we've got the fighter. He doesn't look, oh, that's a level 0. I'm going to say level 1. Yeah, okay, those are pretty decent saving throws. Yeah, I first saw this. I was like, whoa, magic saving throws at 18? I was like, holy cow. But that's for a level 0. It says fighters begin with the best combat capabilities in the game. They're the only character class to further improve in combat skills as levels are gained. We got the magic user. They start off with a spell at level 1, obviously enough. One thing I also do notice is it looks as if the characters go up to level 20, even though it kind of cut off here with the fighter, because it just says level 13 plus. So, and how much experience per level they need to acquire. Here we've got the specialist. It says fighters are adventurers because they are so inured to death they cannot settle down to a normal life. Magic users are those who pursue the dark arts and are no longer welcome in society. Clerics are charged by their god to go forth and perform their special duties. Specialists, they do it because they want to, whether inspired by greed, boredom, or idle curiosity. Specialists are professional explorers risking life and limb simply because a less active life is distasteful to them. We get a little takeoff of Raiders of the Lost Ark, it looks like, for the artwork for the specialist there. I like the artwork. It's not too bad. Almost kind of has a woodcut vibe to the artwork that we've seen. I think we've got different artists in here. It's not just one particular artist. So Keldon has joined us in chat. Good to see you. Thanks for swinging on in. So NTF says the Specialist struck me as interesting mechanically way back when I first saw this. There are some OSR games out there that do not have a thief or rogue. They have a specialist as well. I think we'll probably see it a little further in here. I think as far as specialists, you kind of choose the skills that you're going to utilize for that specialist. So it's not just like, okay, well, you're a thief. Here's the hide in shadows, backstab, all these other things. So we've got the elf, and then we've got the halfling. It's kind of an odd piece of artwork to have with the halfling, right? Because they're not necessarily, the most martially. I would say they don't have the most martial prowess. Why am I not being able to get that out? Grab a quick sip. So here we got the equipment list, which we saw some of the equipment up front on that page. Looks like we've got some of the melee weapons and then some notes regarding them. Adventuring, the rules of the game. Architecture, climbing, doors. So one thing I can tell kind of right off the bat here, as NTF says, where's Waldo? Halfling edition with this piece of artwork there. Where's the halfling? Find him. It doesn't look like there is a lot of just rambling on in these rules. It seems like each of these sections are pretty concise, that they're only 1, 2, 3 paragraphs long. Well, as an example, this looks like that one's 5 paragraphs. But as you can see, it's not page after page after page about a specific aspect of the game. So here, talking about gaining a level, we got foraging and hunting, getting lost, different hazards. We've got healing, languages, light and vision, mapping, movement and encumbrance. So these are, once again, as I mentioned, these are the rules that I know a lot of people have kind of stolen from this system to use with their games as well. So it's looking like essentially it's just a point system. And then based on how many points, it tells you what your encumbrance is and what your movement per round or per turn would be. Doesn't look like there's any like negative penalty, like die modifiers at all. I don't know. It's possible, but I'm not seeing anything. So it's, for an example, it says characters wearing chain armor. That's a point. Plate armor, it's 2 points. If they're carrying 6 or more different items, it's a point. 11 or more items overall, it's a point. So I know there are a lot of role-playing games out there that have really tried to simplify encumbrance rules, but still include encumbrance rules where it's, well, you get to carry the number of items that your strength is, and after that, you're encumbered. So this looks like it's a little more detailed than that. We also have mounts and their encumbrance. That's kind of important. Remember, keeping in mind that this is an old school Renaissance sort of role-playing game, you should have hirelings. You should have minions. So, of course, if you're going dungeon delving or something like that, you're probably going to have mules to carry gear and treasure. So it looks like we got a section on maritime adventures. So we got different water vessels, water conditions, encounters at sea. That's a little different. We don't see that usually in most shorter page count role-playing games. That's kind of cool. We get a few pages of the maritime adventures. Here we go, retainers. So here's our hirelings. All the different types. hiring retainers, loyalty, property and finance. All right, so we've got, well, it doesn't look like a lot, I'm going to say, but we do have some mention of like strongholds, things like that. Talking about encounters, surprise, combat, things you can do in a round. So you can attack, you can cast a spell, change weapons and attack. You can perform a hold action, move, parry, use an item. You can aim, you can attack from behind, you can take cover, you can fire into melee. So I thought that the setting for Lamentations of the Flame Princess is supposed to be kind of a fantasy Europe, like fantasy, like 15th, 16th century Europe. So I don't think you get a lot of setting information, or maybe any setting information in this book. I do know there's no bestiary. There is, in fact, as far as I understand, Lamentation of the Flame Princess, the company itself, has never released a bestiary. So the Madman says, Maritime Adventures. Boy, I could tell a few stories. So NTF says, yes, there are firearms in this game. All right, so we get into some of the artwork. Now, that's pretty messy right there. This is where we're actually going to skip past. It's okay. Now, I know for a fact that some of this artwork has been used on the covers for various different Lamentation of the Flame Princess adventures. So, kind of gross there. All right. We're going to pop past because there are some, like I said, some rather inappropriate images. So I have skipped past those. So now we're going to get into the magic users. So we've got a discussion about clerics here. Creating scrolls, creating holy water, researching a spell, casting spells. Then we get into the magic users, talking about preparing their spells each day. I'm taking a guess. I'm pretty sure this is Vancian magic involved in this as well. Disavowed 92 has joined us in chat. Good to see you, Disavowed. So Nicholas says, in many ways, Veins of the Earth is a bestiary for Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Sweet. I've always heard good things, once again, good things about Veins of the Earth. I have to point out, though, that I am not into like super gonzo, like gross out stuff. And I do know that this system has some adventures where they're like really trying to push the shock value. It's just not really my bag of tricks. And then who is the artist? There's an artist who does a lot of different artwork for some of the like more indie role-playing games. And I think they did the artwork for Veins of the Earth. And I am just not a fan. Their artwork is almost like, to me, reminds me of like a little kid scribbling. Gosh, off the top of my head, I can't think of their name. Or it's like their like artist name. So Keldon says there's a lot of third-party small print stuff out there for this game. Yes, there is. There's actually a lot of stuff from James Edward Raggi IV as well. There are a lot of adventures that you can get from the website. Although I believe that's out of England. And right now, just shipping prices, just crazy. So we've got our cleric spells. So we're going to go through those. We don't, obviously enough, we don't have as many cleric spells as we do magic user spells. So we've got all the magic user spells. See, we can see there's quite a few more and higher level spells. And then we're going to get into spell descriptions. And I can tell you right now, I'm digging this because if you follow the gaming gang, and when I cover a lot of different role-playing games, I'm not a huge fan of page after page of a single spell description. I don't find that's very usable at the game table. So I like here that we've only got just a few paragraphs. It's basically telling us the level of the spell. It's in alphabetical order. Duration, range. It's kind of like the classifications of each of the spells. And then what does the spell do? Cool. Earthquake, fairy fire, floating disc. So the magic user and cleric spells are just mixed together in here, just in alphabetical order. Howl of the Moon. Something else I always point out with various different OSR games is steal whatever you can from any game out there. That's how I've always looked at being a game master. I always take what's going on from other games and plug it in, if I like it, into my preferred system. And I pointed it out before. I have never run a role-playing game in, well, I guess it's now 42 years, almost 42 years. I have never run a role-playing game as written. Never. So it looks like there's some pretty cool spells in here that might be a little bit different than you're used to seeing. So Omanal has joined us. Good to see you, Omanal. We haven't seen you in a bit. Welcome to chat. Omanal points out that they like the fact that they include the level in the spell. Yeah, it's just I kind of like layouts like this too, where it's like, okay, we got all the spells, and here it's showing what's by level. Although I got to admit too, I guess sometimes when they break down spells by level, I'm fine with that. So Nicholas points out, yeah, not a fan of the art in Veins of the Earth by Scrap Princess. That's it. Scrap Princess. Do not care for their artwork. It's just me. Yeah, I'm not saying anything about the artist. Just, I don't care for their art. So it looks like this is how we're going to finish up, is just with the magic, all the different magic spells. But as you can see, yeah, is that skull in the corner changing like a flip book? I don't think it is it? Oh my gosh, yes it is. Holy cow. That's wild. When I'm done paging through this, we'll go back. Yeah, I just actually kind of noticed the skull down in the corner as we were looking through, and I was kind of like, why is there a spell? Or a spell. I'm looking at Omel's comment. I'm like, why is there a skull in the corner of like every page on the right here? What's going on with that? But yes, it is like decomposing. Looks like a decomposing head. So yeah, these are still all spell descriptions. What the world? What spell was that? That spell ran on for pages. Oh, summon. No wonder. Summoning spell. Kevin R. Smith has joined us. Good to see you, Kevin. Says, late for the first dispatch since my return. Well, you haven't missed much. I only did the one episode that ended up getting dropped by YouTube at the half-hour mark. So, Omanal says, problem they have spells by level is clerics and magic users might have different levels for the same spell. Though they wished they used the word circle for spell levels rather than use the word level for multiple spells and character levels. Yeah, that's one of the things that throws off a lot of people, especially with the old school Renaissance stuff. And like a lot of the Vancian magic sort of role-playing games where it's like, well, the spell level is a level 2, but your character actually has to be like level 4 before they get to learn a level 2 spell. So I get where you're coming from. That throws a lot of people. And yes, you would think they would possibly word it a bit differently. All right, so now we've got the appendices. So we've got a glossary. Here we go. Here's our firearms. There was discussion of the firearms before. So we've got pistols, arquebus, and musket. So we've got those. We got gunpowder, fire bombs. Cool. We got different kind of armor too. We have pikeman's armor, full armor, a buff coat. And yeah, just taking a look here, I can tell right off the bat that it does use an ascending armor class, which is fine. I'm cool with that. I know some people out there are like, no, yeah, I've been playing games for so long. I know my THACO. I know how to figure out THACO. To me, I just think ascending armor class makes it so much easier for new players to wrap their heads around any of these games that utilize that mechanic, a D20 mechanic usually. So get some miscellaneous equipment here. It's talking about we had our firearms. Then we get the character sheet. So it's explaining the character sheet here. But it didn't give us a character sheet. Unless I've somehow missed something. Obviously enough, I'm sure you can go online and download it from their websites. But I thought that's kind of funny. But it's kind of cool here. We're showing, okay, so information about this is on this page, that page, that page. But there's no character sheet. And then we've got some more interesting charts and tables and that you're going to use kind of like you'd see on a Game Master screen. So we got the movement encumbrance mounts, as well as the movement encumbrance there. Saving throws, melee weapons, attack bonuses, missile weapons, armor, and cover. All right. That is Lamentations of the Flame Princess, all 167 pages. Do want to point out once again, this hardcover is available for an MSRP of $20. I got to point out, I picked mine up through Amazon, but I know you can get it from other locations as well for $20. You can get the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG for $5. That includes the artwork. I want to say this is the 3rd edition. And there is an art-free edition as well that's absolutely free. So definitely check that out. I am going to have a review of this in the very near future. It's only 167 pages. And to be honest, we're kind of seeing a lot of it already now. So very cool. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's finish up by taking a look what's going on in chat. Swinging on over to the other camera here. So Kevin asks, does anybody remember that thing in the 1st edition Dungeon Master's Guide where they talked about the different terminology they were going to use before they just decided to keep level for everything? Gosh, I don't remember that. But I'm with I'm with Clint Gibson. Howdy, Clint. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Omenal said they haven't looked at their 1st edition DMG in 20 years. Even though I just recently got one because I didn't have copies of these anymore. So I felt a little nostalgic, and I picked up some pretty nice condition 1st edition books, at least the core books. And honestly, I haven't read through it. So, Kevin asks, so does Lamentations of the Flame Princess have a clean art edition now? I don't know. There is, like, as Nicholas is pointing out, there is an art-free edition that is absolutely free. So, Omenal asks, am I going to look at Wicked Ones? I don't even know what Wicked Ones is. the name is ringing a bell, but I don't know. Like I said, there were a lot of people who were like, "Oh yeah, Jeff, we want you to take a look at this," because I'm sure a lot of people are kind of curious about this themselves. For one, because they've probably heard about some of the adventures and some of the artwork and some of the graphicness or sexuality of some of the adventures, and they're kind of like, what about the game itself? Because to be honest, outside of a few pieces of artwork that I really skipped, there's nothing in here. There's nothing in here that's, I mean, we didn't go into detail reading the spells and stuff like that, but there's nothing in this looked really crazy. You know, like, oh my gosh, I can't run this for my 13-year-old kids. I didn't seem like that. But once again, I will have a review and I will share my thoughts. Do want to also point out that I have the third edition of I believe it's White Box Fantasy Role Playing, which I also got on Amazon. I want to say it was $5 for the soft cover because I threw those together. I threw that together with Lamentations of the Flame Princess. So I got the free shipping. So we'll be taking a look at that soon too. All right. So Kevin says, I must have been too late for all the erotica tonight. There was no erotica whatsoever. None whatsoever. 245 Trioxin is joining us. Very cool to see you. Welcome back. Says there's so many retro clones out there nowadays. There are a lot of retro clones. I am a big fan. I like Swords and Wizardry. I think that core book is really well done. If you're looking for something that is kind of first edition in one book, that I mean, you know, it's missing some stuff because open game license. But Osric, I think Osric is pretty good. I've reviewed that as well. That Neoclassical Geek Revival, like I said, I have heard good things about it. It's got the old school vibe, but it's not a retro clone. So once again, I've heard good things about that. That has the second edition. We just talked about the basic book earlier in the news. I think they're going to kickstart like an advanced book. I think that's what's on the horizon for that. Of course, there's Dungeon Crawl Classics, what I really like as well. Once again, another game that's got that OSR flavor to it, but not necessarily the OSR mechanics. And I know a lot of people are like, wow, you know, I thought that game looks really crunchy. And I keep telling people it's just the tables. It's the tables for the spells. That's what makes it look like, wow, this is a pretty complex game. 'Cause it really isn't. Mechanically, it's not that complex. It's not as crunchy as people think. All right, so that's going to be it for tonight's show. As I mentioned, don't forget, check out my review of Imperium Classics from Osprey Games. Really enjoyed this. You can check out how to play the game. And actually had the designer, one of the designers, pop in and comment on the video that one of the aspects of the rules I was doing incorrectly, which I'm glad he pointed out because it really wasn't in the rule book. So I don't know if it's my fault then. At least I didn't see it in the rule book. So that is out. I've got my review of Does Love Forgive coming out. I'll probably have this out tomorrow night. It's in the can. It's done. I just hadn't gotten around to doing some of the graphics, you know, the opening graphics and finishing that up. And of course, if you tuned in a little bit late, I was talking about how the Gaming Gang Dispatch is going to be Mondays and Wednesdays just for the near future. I'm sure once fall rolls around, I'll be okay. I'll be back to normal. I feel really good. And I talked about this a little earlier. Outside of this, like this tightness, I have like a knot right here. And it's like always there. Like right now, it is bothering me. It's not necessarily painful. Sometimes it is, but for the most part, it's just really uncomfortable. And I pointed this out before. I think you can kind of see it, right? I'm trying to hide my scar. You don't really need to. You don't need to see my scar, but you can almost kind of see where I've got like this bump right here. And I think part of it's kind of pushing on my vocal cords. And I talked to a nurse practitioner, and she said, yes, that does happen. So it's getting a little better. You can tell my voice is getting a little bit better. Anyway, so Monday and Wednesdays for the dispatch, probably a couple videos every week. So about 4 videos a week is what you can look forward to. And yes, we'll get back to the 4 nights a week with the dispatch. Just give me some time. Okay. Anyway, Wednesday's show, it's going to be a War Game Wednesday. I'm going to unbox and take a first look at The Last 100 Yards, Volume 2, Airborne Over Europe. You may recall my review of The Last 100 Yards. I really liked it. It is kind of squad level. So if you're a fan of like squad leader, but you don't want all that crunch, pretty good system. It is a standalone game as well, so you don't need to have the first volume. All right, so Nicholas is asking, is anybody backing the new edition of Hyperborea on Kickstarter? See, you know, the funny thing is, that's another game I would really like to do a review of, but it is not easy to get the core books. The core books are not, they're you know, we're not talking about like a $5 core book or, you know, like some of the stuff I've done reviews of, like Basic Fantasy, right? Where you're basically just, how many times do I want to say basic? Where you're essentially just paying for the printing, or even like Lamentations, the Flame Princess. This is a hardcover. Yeah, it's 167 pages, but it was $20. Amazing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea, if I remember correctly, I think that's the title, is now, yes, in a Kickstarter for their latest edition. And I had kind of thought about maybe backing it, but financially, I just can't pull it off. Can't pull it off. All right. Anyway, so Indigo Dragon joined us right here at the end. Good to see you, Indigo Dragon. Thanks for popping on in. Said that they did back it. Yeah, I think they're referring to it as Hyperborea now. But as far as the abbreviation, I think they're still calling it ASSH. But they are not referring to it in the, like, you know, astonishing, like I said, I think it's Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. I think they're just calling it Hyperborea now. But that, yeah, once again, that is another system I've heard really good things about. I've heard it's got really good, like, domain play. So as your characters, you know, increase in level and experience, that, you know, they may run a kingdom. They may become kings or queens. So I heard that is like a huge selling point for that. I heard it really does a really nice job. Like I said, I've looked into like maybe reviewing it, but it's not easy to get the books. And like I said, the books are not, they're not cost effective for the gaming gang, is I guess what we'll say. All righty then. If you like this video, don't forget, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Gaming Gang Dispatch streams live right here on YouTube, it'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review of Call of Cthulhu, Does Love Forgive? And I think people are going to be surprised by this review score. I will leave it at that. All right, so a lot of people are saying good night. Indigo Dragon's pointing out, yes, the Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerers part has been dropped for the official title for the 3rd edition. Very cool. All right. So Nicholas says, hey, no rush on the 4 shows a week. Your health and comfort comes first. Yes, I know that. Don't ever think that I'm sitting there like, I'm just going to push myself. Got to push myself harder. for the thing that I don't make any money on. All right. Anyway, I will be back on Wednesday. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Monday night. And until I see you next time, here's hoping you enjoy plenty of great gaming with your own gang. Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're kicking it, how about subscribing to the Gaming Gang channel? Or seeing the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch? Or finding out what YouTube recommends you check out here at my channel? And of course, don't forget, get your geek on at thegaminggang.com.